Hello there, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. It is Patrick here, Eggnoc Poker. New video today, and we're going to be doing a session review. I've got two session reviews for you, one for today and one for either tomorrow or the day after, depending on when I receive it. We're just going to get these reviews out of the way over the next couple of days, and then we're going to be continuing with our 2NL2 200NL series, where we are currently we've ticked off 2NL, 5NL, 10NL, and we will be moving into 16, which will be on PokerStars next time. So do look out for that. That's coming out soon. Again, quick shout out as always, guys. Thank you so much to everyone who's been liking, commenting, subscribing, joining the Discord, following on Twitch, subscribing on YouTube. Please keep joining in. Everyone who's not subscribed, go subscribe right now. I am starting to I don't have my schedule just as of yet, but I will be very soon putting in at least sort of 30 or 40 hours plus a week on Twitch. So all the details of that are in the description as always. So we have today we have 10NL on the books for our review session. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at Xrsma. I don't know the best way of saying that. That's just how I'm going to say it, I suppose. There was a small amount of commentary. There was a couple of little bits and bobs, but there wasn't massive amounts of commentary for this one that was super valid that I need to put in previously. One or two slight accidental mistakes, I believe. Like there was a couple of fat fingering and a few little spots, I think, if I remember off the top of my head. Just going through. Anyway, so I don't have too much previous information. 10NL PokerStars. It's been a while since I played at 10NL Zoom. I don't know how it currently plays that well with much validity. I would think that it's your jumping between 2NL and 5NL is still pretty low and pretty soft and easy. I think NL10 is where you start to encounter some slightly better play overall, but I wouldn't consider it too difficult. I would think, if I had to guess, I wouldn't think you're being 4-bet bluff very often. I wouldn't think you're being put under too much stress, but we will find out, I suppose. So again, as always, we're probably looking to just play pretty straightforward. I would probably say that we would start to incorporate some 4-betting and some more interesting lines at 10NL, but again, generally we're looking to not make the big calls, but plenty of bluffs and as much value betting as we can. So again, remember, I am watching this on a this is the review VOD, so this isn't me playing, this is me reviewing. So we're just going to be looking at the action, seeing how the action plays, and then discussing as is. As with all the other videos, this is the first time I've officially watched it. I had a very quick glance to check there was no anything unpleasant or unnecessary on the video. There isn't. So as always, we're just going to be playing and seeing how the action unfolds, and then talking through it together if there are any spots. Going to be backseating wherever possible. We do love a good backseat, but it's just general content, isn't it? We're just learning, talking about spots, learning about different situations. I'm going to try and let the videos run as much as possible, and only pause and talk about situations where we feel like we might be able to make some decisions or changes, or if there's anything very specific to go over. But usually it's pretty good. It's pretty normal, I suppose. Nothing to go through so far. I think the ace-3 suited is a low frequency call with a lot of folding, I would say, and then we're 3-betting more hands like ace-4, ace-5 plus. So here, for example, I would consider this. I mean, it's a mistake in GTO, but if you feel like your opponents are overfolding to 3-bets, then why not have it as a 3-bet? This isn't a terrible combo. The difference between ace-3, ace-4, ace-5 isn't super massive. I suppose the only difference being that ace-5 blocks more 4-bets and continues compared to ace-3, but I would mostly be folding this with a smidge of call. But again, if you feel like in a high rake and a high fold to 3-bet population, it can't be terrible to go ahead and over 3-bet this. I'd probably not do it, but at the end of the day, if you want to add it in, why not? Easy open with the Queen 9 suited. Easy range bet table too. Hijack's going to have a decent amount of hands like King Jack, King Queen. I suppose you're going to pocket sixes, deuces, but low frequency to call the 3-bets. Very easy small size range bet. Do lots of very small sizes would be nice. Take it down, well done. Easy open again with the ace-5. And very easy 3-bet with the jacks, I suppose. I suppose we can go ahead and bet small or check on table 2. I think against populations, I just always prefer, if we've got the option, I always prefer a very, very small size bet. Table 1 easy fold with the 8s. Yeah, just I mean, it doesn't matter, right? We can check or bet very, very, very small. It's both are completely fine. I suppose you can probably do some up to half at some frequency, but small is probably favoured. Mostly be checking the turn. I don't think we get called by worse. I don't think we're trying to make a bunch of hands fold that have called the flop. Just looking to play rivers. I wouldn't continue betting. So the villain's going to get here with a bunch of flushes. We do block straights, but we also block some of the hands that may potentially bluff. But yeah, it's fine. Nothing too much to say with that one. Easy open with the king 3 suited. Maybe one thing just to suggest is potentially getting. Oh, I didn't mean to sprint. Potentially getting some hotkeys set up, where you. So for example, here where you're like clicking 2.6 there, it's just a bit being nitpicky. But if you're multi-tabling, it makes it very, very nice to have hotkeys rather than losing an extra half a second to a second every decision to physically click or have multiple clicks for bet sizes, for raise sizings, etc. I mean, no, we can bet small. It doesn't make too much difference. Easy 3-bet with the kings. I mean, I'll be honest. Against sorry, I keep skipping by accident. Against 4x, I keep trying to hit pause there. I don't actually know what the best size is against 4x. I mean, obviously this guy's just ISOing against the one big blind limp from the fish. I think 17's a bit big. Like, I mean, I'd probably be going like around sort of 15, 16, but there's not really a tremendous difference. But I think it's a little bit big for 17. Just to be nitpicky. We can open the 3s. We don't have to pure open the 3s. We're getting to that kind of cuspy point where we're getting very, very close between break-even opens. And I'd be mostly betting. Again, basically a lot of range betting. Mostly small, very small. So this is an interesting point on the turn. I'm just going to pause here. I don't even know what the action will be, but just one thing to think about. So this is the point in the hand where against a small blind condensed range, this kind of comes into a spot where we kind of like want to be doing a lot of large betting, over betting and checking in terms of range. I think a lot of people kind of get here and they're not really sure what to do. So let's see what happens anyway in the talk through. So villain checks. So a hand as low as 3s. When I say as low as 3s, we've got a pair. We still beat like queen 10, ace queen. But if we check, like we can check this some of the time, like it's okay to check, but this is also a really, really good spot to go ahead and continue betting, and for a large size, like actually prefer over betting. Maybe some large size as well, I suppose, but mostly over bet would be a nice size with range. 3 specifically falls into that category. Like you could argue about getting, you could still get value from like 9, 10 of diamonds, from like queen 10 of diamonds. You can fold out hands like 7s through 10s, which is also good. You might, you should really start attacking some of the weaker Jack X, like Jack 10 as well. That would be also awesome if we could potentially fold those out with an overbet. And then obviously the time, I mean, 3s wants to generate the fold, but an overbet would be nice, or a large size. Either, I suppose, would be nice. There is a smaller smidge of check back. Like it's also okay to check, but at the same time, our hand is very difficult to play facing aggression, whereas we can just bet turn. On this river, so we have a clear bluff now. Again, large to overbet, I suppose. I think I would probably go like 120, 130% pot. I think that's what I would prefer if I had to choose. I think large is also okay, but you know, I prefer overbet again. The 8-9 suited here. Sorry, I keep pausing, but these are relevant spots. I think 9-8 suited just is not a 3-bet. I think, I know we don't really want loads of calls in a high rake environment, but like I would rather 3-bet a clear bluff, or a clear like kind of low end hand like 4-5 suited, rather than 9-8 suited on the button here. Like, again, like if we feel like population's overfolding, great, but I would rather over 3-bet a hand like ace-3 suited or king-5 suited more often, and then either call or mostly fold these like kind of like mid to high end connectors. They're deceptive. They don't play that well. They don't make that much money. They don't have blocker value. They don't play super well in the 3-bet pots either. Like this guy can 4-bet us. This guy can call and have a strong range, and we only have 9 high. So these hands are not great to have as 3-bets. Just as a thing. I mean, they're like it's like the smidgiest smidge, but I can see that you've already got a 12% 3-bet over 380 hands, so it looks like you're potentially over 3-betting. Calling the 9s is fine though on the button. Against the UTG, we can 3-bet or call. Against a recreational, I prefer calling with the like mid to high pairs rather than 3-betting them, because they're just easier to play on a small SPR against Rex, and you just get to win a lot of money either way and don't have to risk much. Getting 4-bets sucks. Filtering range to really strong hands kind of sucks, those kind of things. With in the midst of throwing things at the moment. Let's see what our recreational friend wants to do. He should be really basically checking range, or at least checking a very high frequency, but he's not going to do that because he's recreational. He's probably going to bet most of his range. Against his size, I would think there's probably a tiny smidge of call, but probably mostly calling. I think it's very easy to just call with range. Had villain checked, I would probably mostly be betting small, I think, just to with a lot of my range. Table 2, I think we've got a very clear, mostly small range bet. We've got more pocket queens, we've got more pocket kings. We've got ace, king, aces, and both villain and hero have nut end. This 9-8 suited. This is something that is actually relatively problematic. Sorry to sound a bit blunt, but like the 3-bet pre is a bit of a blunder, and then when we get to the flop, if we do get here, we should really just be range betting. I mean, both of us have Jack 10, but we have a lot, like in terms of like combos, we have more king queen off. We've obviously got more ace king. We've got kings and aces more on the flop, and then we've obviously both got combos of like 9s, Jack 10 suited. We actually have more Jack 10 suited as well, technically, because they shouldn't even be calling, but that's more of a GTO thing. But we're doing very well on the board, is what I'm saying. So you should just basically go for a small range bet with your range, with your whole range. It just makes it easier to play and just kind of generates the amount of value or fold equity that you need, and also protection depending on the hand class you have. We just have a clear fold now versus this bet. Please don't raise this. This is a disaster to raise this. There's just too many good hands in villain's range. Villain can already have 9s. He can have queens. He can have king queen. He can have jack 10. I don't think he bits king queen, but jack 10. He can have not millions of flushes, right? Because technically the king and the queen and the ace are most of his flushes, but he can still have the flushes. He can still have the straights, even though it shouldn't be often, but then he can still have ace queen. He can, at low frequency, have ace king. He can have 9s. I mean, he shouldn't have a bunch of hands that are thrilled about betting here, but he can still have enough of them. So we just have a fold here with 9-8 of diamonds. As played on table 1, I probably would have bet smaller on the turn, but betting is fine for protection and some thin value from like ace highs and so on. Remember, recreational players, if he had 10s plus on the turn, he's probably going to continue betting. So we have a pure bet for value on table 1 with 9s. So you could potentially size up on the turn exploitatively against a recreational player, but in general, like, we would be careful not to go massive and sort of bin ourselves versus protected checks. Anyway, not to sort of blabber on. We have a very clear check back table 1. I would not be value betting this. You could maybe argue against a recreational for a small size, but it's a bit scary. And as played, villain probably has a bunch of king X in that line. In the UTG, in my opinion. Maybe like a small third pot size would have been good. We can have a 3-bet or call table 1. I think, again, to be a little bit nitpicky, I would probably go like sort of 12 to 13, but again, it's not really, it doesn't make a tremendous amount of difference. King 6 can fall into a 3-bet range a very small amount of the time. Again, like, you've got no RNG here. Be careful you're not over 3-betting. This 3-bet stat is actually creeping up, so be careful. You've got a 13% 3-bet over 380. Again, it's like, you know, whatever, who cares? But just keep an eye on it. Obviously, if we're 3-betting 8-9, we're 3-betting pure with like King 6 and so on, we do start to creep up. So if people notice we're over 3-betting, we might be prone to being attacked. But you're still at 10 and L, so, I mean, I don't know if that's somewhat relevant We'll have to see. We can squeeze the king jack offsuit some of the time if we want here, I think. This is good enough to squeeze. And a clear 3-bet table too. This is a bit of a mistake. I sound really entitled, I understand, but this is a little bit of a mistake. We should just be generating value from our ace-jack suited. If you had ace-jack off, you can call and 3-bet, both are fine, but I think ace-jack suited we should really be raising. It's just for value, it's just for clear value. It can put us in some tougher spots, but at the end of the day, you've got a very good hand class for the big blind versus the small blind SRP. So I would absolutely be 3-betting that for value and not having that as a call. It's funny because you're more aggressive with the hands that shouldn't be aggressive, and then you're flatting more with hands that should. So just switch them around. Mostly checking back on table 2, probably pure checking with ace-jack of hearts. Mostly checking turn with this class. There's probably a tiny amount of betting, but mostly checking down, considering we just beat a lot of other hands, like some of the ace-highs villain is checking, like that one, for example, ace-9. We can 3-bet ace-jack if we want to. And we can also fold, call, and we can also call and 3-bet the 8s table 2, I suppose. Against 3x, you could probably mix in some folds. You've got a cold call table 1. So UTG open button 3-bet, big blind cold call, and UTG call. We're doing very well with range, but I would be cautious because obviously both villains can have queens, ace queen, but I dare say 3s, but you never know, I suppose. But we're obviously doing very well. Whoops, I'm throwing the screen around. We're doing pretty well here across the board, so I'd probably just be starting with a smallish range bet. You could even go smaller than this if you want. There's a lot of really small sizes you can add in. They don't have to go a third, but I suppose a third's okay. A little bit of a dodgy turn. So we can perceive this guy as a recreational player for cold calling the big blind, right? So I like having this as a check. Like I would think you could bet a small amount of time with ace jack here, but mostly checking. Because remember, I mean, we are doing very well here, and we block the only real hands that we're terrified of, like jack 10 we block, for example. Obviously king queen improves. Villain shouldn't really have ace king, but you never know for a cold call. We block the jack 10, as I said. King queen improves. Apart from that, we're probably just doing all right. So against a recreational, I prefer betting here. Against a reg, I kind of prefer having mostly checks. So up to you. I'd probably bet like somewhere around sort of half against a recreational, somewhere from like half to 2/3. I would prefer against a recreational. I don't hate checking, but I would prefer to bet versus a recreational player. Easy open with the a7 suited. And then if villain checks river, we'd probably have a value bet, and then versing lead, we have a clear call. I think there's nothing else to say. I wouldn't probably raise this combo. I think we're just calling. We block jack 10. I suppose we chop with ace jack. We beat ace 10. We beat club and diamond combos. The ace of diamonds is a little bit less relevant, I suppose, because obviously the ace of diamonds makes a pair. So we're unblocking like jack 9 suited. I suppose we're unblocking like 9-10 of clubs, like 7-8 of diamonds. Like that maybe a fish overcalls the flop with. You don't know. Just a call. Very, very easy click. I wouldn't turn this into a bluff though, because I know we're hovering over 42 here. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not keen on the fold. I know population are tight, but one that's a recreational player, and it's one of those situations where villain can have strong hands, but he probably would have 4-bet queens and kings, and he probably doesn't have as many king queens. I suppose we lose to ace queen and jack 10, but we block jack 10. We block ace queen. I would just call. I think we've got a very easy just call there. I think it's a mistake to fold. There's a lot of spots where we can be defensive and overfold, but I don't think that's one of them. You can mix some calls and 4-bets with the jacks. Table 1, considering we've been cold called behind the 3-better, I would prefer to just go ahead and 4-bet for value. I think, again, if the button had queens plus, he would probably 4-bet. And also, I don't like the idea of calling. I don't mind the size here. I think the size is pretty decent. I think we're usually going around 3 and a bit X versus a normal person, and then versus the cold call we add on a bit more, so I think I can get behind that size. Nice easy squeeze with the ace jack. A bit big. So versus like 3x and a call, I would probably go about 15. This is where it becomes less nitpicky and more relevant. This is like, the 3-bet's great, the candidate's good, we're going big is nice. 17 just kind of, it's just a bit too big. It's kind of like, if we're going to get the fold equity, if we're going to get the value, 17 just, it kind of, 17 forces a few more folds, and also it's a bit like, it's a bit too much the times that we face re-aggression. So I would probably go about 15. So just be conscious about how big you're going with these sizes. Just be a little bit careful. Dead money, you're typing on for the previous hand on table 1. You are correct. There is a lot of dead money in there. Also, just taking that down, that's a result as well. It's no competition. Easy 3-bet with the ace-jack. I'm not a big fan of the call. Again, high rake, and also this isn't a great class to have as a flat in the cutoff, in my opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if it's in there, but against 2 recreational players, especially even 3 recreational players, I'm assuming green tags are with the short stacks, 3-bet for value. Just clear value, in my opinion. You're going to get called by worse. Also, we don't really want to call and get squeezed, but anyway, versus a big blind 3-bet from a shorter stack. This is really awkward. I'd probably pitch it against population, just because it's a big blind 3-bet. Usually these guys don't squeeze a whole bunch with really, really wide hands. We should have just 3-bet in the first place, but still, it is what it is. You can range bet if you want, or check table 1. I like the lead. I like the lead a lot here for a small size. This is an interesting turn card. I'm going to pause for a second just talk about this. So this is a spot where on the flop we had the crown a bit more, right? And we were like, haha, like we can have like our overpairs go up to queen. Our overpairs go up to queens, technically. Whereas kings and aces, obviously the UTG has the advantage with that. However, 4-3 suited, we have 4x, we have way more of those, and pocket threes, that's in our range. Lovely. We're also going to have a bunch of hands that have equity on this board that villain doesn't have as much. So like 5-6 suited, and some more ace deuce suited than villain, depending on strategy. 6-7 suited, things like that. And also just obviously like flopping quads, flopping 4 houses, and whatnot, and 4x. The turn, however, this is just something I know. Sorry, I'm going into theory rather than just talking about a review VOD, and I apologize, I suppose, but just very quickly, this is important. This turn card switches the power, and the power now goes over to the under the gun, because now the under the gun, and now his overpairs, and this like tighter constricted range under the gun versus a big blind defend, and also slightly more filtered versus a big blind lead, is way more condensed and stronger overall compared to your leading range. And also the amount of hands that combo with your 4x, so you now no longer have ace 4 of hearts, you no longer have king 4 of hearts, you no longer have 4-5 of hearts, you no longer have 4-6 of hearts, you no longer have 3-4 of hearts. The combos of pocket 4s has now been completely obliterated. You don't have pocket 4s anymore. And also pocket 3s has now been counterfeited. Really, really fucking bad. Really bad turn card. So we now have a clear check and we're done, right? Really bad turn, right? Really good flop for range. Very bad turn for range. Just something to think about. Don't think this is a good turn card, because it's not. I can see why you're betting the turn. I think you have a clear check and you're effectively checking range, in my opinion. Against an exploitative spot, maybe it's better to bet, perhaps. I would just mostly be just check folding, or maybe check raising with the kind of like some other combos, but I'd probably just be check folding that, in my opinion. I don't know what we're doing here. Sorry. Queen 10 off. 83 hands is 25, 23, 17. Looks a bit aggressive, but queen 10 off is a disaster to call. This doesn't make any sense. I don't mind betting when I don't mind betting when he checks. What are we typing here? This guy, huge whale. Queen 10 off is not enough. Defend the big blind wider, but don't start flatting queen 10 off. No good. Annoying spot with jacks. I think we have a fold. I think I'm trying to think. I would think there's probably some more 3-betting. Some more 4-betting with probably 9s and 10s. But I think jacks specifically is just like, ugh, maybe not even 10s and 9s. Yeah, I think jacks is just probably a pure fold, or very close to pure fold. The reason 10s are a bit more preferred as well is because villain will have less like 5 bets and hands that will continue and whatnot. Anyway, the sorry, I'm dropping everything. The oh my god, the king 9 on that table too. That is an open, but it's a low frequency open. You're not using an RNG, so be careful that you're not sort of over attacking. But again, it's 10 and L, isn't it? So talking GTO and losing my mind and talking about very specific strategies, it's not super relevant, I suppose, but it's like, you know, it's interesting. I suppose if you want to listen to it, it's there. Easy open with the queen 10. I don't know what this 2.6x is. It's really random. I would just go 2 or 2.5 or 2.3 depending on the opening position. 2.6 seems very, very specific, but I don't know what it is. Oh, dear me. Oh, yawning away. Easy 3-bet with the ace king. Didn't mean to limp the 9-5 offsuit. Yeah, whatever, bro. You're a fish. We all know it. We all know you wanted to see the flop. I like the bet when check too. I'd probably just bet bigger. I don't like. There's nothing wrong with going one big blind, but I just fish don't like check folding versus one big blind. The last time, from what I've seen, interesting spot with the 4-bet. Let's pause it for a second and have a look at these stats. Do we have any information? Villain's a 19-17-5, but we've only got 100 hands, so it's not super relevant. Looking at the RFI, it looks like a 29% open from the. Oh no, wait, we're hijack ETG. Oh no, we're cut off. Looks like he's got a 43% cutoff, but again, well, at least I think it's from the cutoff. It's either 43 or 50, but it's way too low of a hand sample to really make a massive assumption. So technically, in theory, you would never fold. You would either call or you would stick it in most of the time, to be honest. Like 150, 160 bigs, effective. I'm trying to think what's better against population. It's probably fold, as weird as it sounds, because you're probably not getting 4-bet a whole bunch, and you're probably not getting 4-bet by the right type of hands. Like villain probably never finds like the king queen suited, the ace jack suited, the ace 5 suited, things like that. So probably never fold. Probably never 4-bets like ace 8 suited and so on. So yeah, I'd probably just fold. Literally, I'm not joking. I think I would prefer folding if I had to choose versus population. We are typing. People don't bluff enough out of position. Well, they're in position on this one, but just generally, yeah, I think I would fold that as well. We can call the king jack if we want, or we can squeeze it. I think I'd prefer a call. Decent board. Punted too much in these spots. I don't like this lead. This lead doesn't make a whole bunch of sense multi-way. So remember the 5th of November. We're not worried about. I know they're both recreational players. I know we've got a good hand, but remember we've crushed versus like villains nut end. Like we're dead to jacks. We're dead to kings. We're doing very pretty badly against queen 10. Like villain can have like ace king, kings, jacks, ace king, ace jack, queen 10, and then like king. I mean, you can't have king X of clubs, but because we got the king of clubs blocker. But what I'm saying is we are doing very badly versus nut end, and we're kind of forcing him to not really have a whole bunch of bluffs. Like I'd love him to just go ahead and c-bet with 4-5 of hearts. That would be real good for us. Forcing him, is no good. Well, you can have flop donks, but not on this texture, especially not multi-way either. So this is going to get you into a lot of trouble. It's going to lose you money. The times they have it, and also the time you're going to lose money versus the bluffs that they don't make. You're going to lose money versus the times they have it, and also if they've got a hand, you could get value from it anyway. So it doesn't, it's not really doesn't make too much sense. The queen jack, I suppose we open half the time, give or take. Again, there's no RNG, so I feel like probably opening too many hands, but oh well. Easy fold 7-3, easy fold king 4. We've got ace king again. We'll take it. We love ace king. I know versus a min open you can have some defend and some flats, very rarely. Goes to 2.5. I think we're pure 3-betting. I think we're like 13 and a half. Oh no, that's sorry, that's supposed to cut off. I think we're like 12 and a half, something like that. Doesn't matter, 11 and a half, fine. This board we have to be a little bit careful on. We don't get to range bet this board, and I'll tell you why. So the question is, who's got all the best hands? Well,
The hijack has jacks, the hijack has tens, the hijack has fours, the hijack could have queens, the hijack can have some ace kings and things like that. He can have some ace queens. Then he's got king jack, he's got ace jack, he's got some of the time jack 10 suited. He's some of the time fours, but not many, I suppose. But he's doing really well on this board. And remember, you filtered him. He's got quite a strong open from the hijack range and then a filtered 3-bet defense range. You're a wide, well, not wide, but you're a wider polarized range, which means you've got way more hands like just king 5 suited here, technically. If you're 3-betting 14%, I would assume that you've got a bit more of a wider big blind range as well. I'm going to go with that assumption. So you don't get, what I'm saying is you don't get to just like bet range here, for example. This is a spot where you'd want to be going, I don't know, like something around 50% probably more often than not. I don't think you can't bet small, but I'd probably mostly sort of going up a little bit more towards that sort of middle of the road range, 40, 45, 50, 60%, something around there, and checking a lot versus the hijack. Sorry, I'm going back into theory. Let's see what we do. What does hero do? I'm assuming you're going to hover over the small. Oh, we're going for the big. Go for the very big. Oh no, too big, way too big. So this is just allowing villain to, this is kind of, let's forget our hand for a second, okay? Let's think about range. The villain just gets to play super well, right? The times he's got hands that will continue, he'll continue and do well against your size, and you're annihilating all of his hands that he can only call with really good hands now. It's really, really, really difficult to play. I kind of see what you're doing. I'm guessing you're going, right, I've got ace king, I can have sets here and so on and so on. But technically you don't. Technically you don't have a whole bunch of jack 10 either. You're doing a lot of calling with jack 10, like jack 10 suited. You've also got 10s and 4s that basically pure flat, and jacks will mostly flat, technically, if you're playing a correct range. So actually you don't have a lot of these strongest hands. You're only leveraging aces and kings. But that's not as much of a trade-off versus sets. So you should be careful. And also he's still got equity hands. But anyway, let's not talk too much about it. Way too big. Like, let's bet. That's fine. We can check a lot or bet. I would bet like 12, like something like that. 22 is just massive. Way too big. Way too big. Easy open with the queen jack. Table 2 though. Get a snap call. Suppose we could do anything that revolves mostly around betting small. I would check or bet small. I would either check again or I'd go for a very large size, large or overbet preferably. So we get the call. We've popped the flop and got called and turned the nuts. Oh, it's a good life. Also, one thing to note is villain's range improves on this turn. Yes, it's good for us. So villain can still have 4s. He can still have jack 10 at low frequency. He shouldn't have a whole bunch, but he can technically have queen jack suited some of the time. He can have king queen for top pair open ender. He can have ace queen, but it's probably less likely against a pot size bet. He's probably got a bunch of 2 pairs. The very, very rare straight for like 8-9. If he's a nit, he's probably, well, I say a nit. If he's a tighter player, he's probably got more ace king than he's supposed to have. And he can absolutely have the sets and also a set of queens. So really good. Sizing, I would probably have a small amount of check. I'd just mostly be betting and stop him checking back king, queen, king, jack, whatnot. Probably go for probably around third. I suppose we go third and then jam rivers. That's probably what I'd like to do. Because you pot, the only thing is because you pot this, you probably could have a shove, but I think it's just wildly overplaying your specific hand. Like, I'm just going to say it for sake of argument. If you had a hand like 10x of clubs or like king 5 of clubs, something like that, I think you could have a shove if you wanted to, as well as like a larger size. Ace king, I'd probably go small. I'd probably just go like third. Maybe half at a push, but preferably a 3 street line. Probably small, like 20, 25. Again, like having jams, because you potted the flop, you could probably have a jam, but I wouldn't jam ace king. We also block him from having the calls like king queen and maybe ace queen at a push if you did like make a wide call. I think you're putting yourself in a box with other hands if you're jamming most of the time. I see that you've made the nuts, you're jamming and you're hoping he calls a lot with an improved range, but that's, you know, he's probably going to fold more than you think. Ew, and he makes a full house on the river. That sucks. Technically, we shouldn't really have like put so much in there, but that's, you know, a vacuum talking. But So what's going on here? So we checked the flop. We made a large size on the turn with the queen jack. Trying to think what I'd like to do here. I mean, I think we could either go big, like sort of 60, 70%. Or we could... I'm trying to think of our exact hand. I think range is probably big and half, I would say. Something like that. What would I do here with queen jack offsuit? I think your specific hand, I'd probably bet half. I would never check because you just allow him to check back 8x, 7, 6s, 4, 5. You should have bluffs here, by the way. There's you know, you could have checked with a flush draw, bet the turn, and then rep the river. You know, that would have been fine. You know, I would just bet here around half probably with this hand specifically, but then mostly betting big. I wouldn't be surprised if he's checked back like 4, 5 or 6s or something. You know, like we should get value from those. Yep, the queen 10 was a sag and unfortunate. Easy open with the queen 10. We're done in 1.5 minutes, guys, just for anyone who's interested. 5-2 suited would be a fold. This is a very, very wide hand to open. Excuse me. 6-4 should be a fold, unless you know that your villains specifically are over folding. King queens all over the place. Royalty. Doing a lot of betting on King Jack 3. I suppose you could do mostly third and half, maybe a tiny smidge of 3/4. Probably, actually no, I don't think I'll go 3/4. Probably small and medium. (10-7) suited is kind of getting to that close spot. I think it's a pure call against cutoff. I think, I'm trying to remember, maybe it's a little bit of 3-bet versus the button, but mostly a call. Obviously, we've completely whiffed. That's sad. I love 10-7 suited. I don't know why. I just think it's a nice little hand. Easy fold with the 10-8 and the 6-3. We see it in our next big blind, are we? Okay. And we're done. Yeah, so pretty decent overall. There was a few spots I think we could be a little bit careful. We're a bit too aggressive with some of our sizes in a few spots, and then way too defensive in others. I think you're over. I think you're not range betting enough of the time with some of these textures, and you're 3-betting a little bit too aggressively overall. Like the 8-9 suited ace-3 overall was a bit aggressive. Unless you know specifically you're doing it for a reason, but I would still consider them a bit too aggressive. Anyway, really, really good session. Well done, mate. Good job. A few things to work on, but overall pretty good, to be honest. I think we did all right. So everybody watching, thank you so much. As always, I will post another video soon, which will be the another review session for another gentleman. So stay updated for that. And then after that one is posted, we will then go back to the 2NL to 200 series, carrying on from where we left off, which will be 16 NL on stars, I believe. So please remember, if you haven't already, go and subscribe right now. Leave a comment, like, dislike. Backseat me, whatever you want. See if I've made any mistakes. I think we're probably all right for this one. I can't see there being any massive areas for review. The one thing I would say is remember Twitch is work is up and running now. The internet's good, so go and look at the description for the details of the Twitch channel. Come and join the Discord group. As always, get your sessions reviewed and backseated. What could be better? Thanks, guys. Have a lovely evening, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.